let's start with doubt. As I said, I've generally used doubt as fuel to encourage me to work harder, to try to make sure that what I do is what I'm good at and I can make a contribution on. So I've always used it as fuel. And I've generally made sure that if I got to a point where my confidence gets destroyed, I make a change. So if doubt overwhelms you to a point where you feel completely immobilized, you need to listen. I think you need to reconsider what you're doing. If I look at my younger self, you have no idea how. Only in around 75, 76 as a person did I get an inkling that I have certain abilities. Because generally when you grow in poverty, all that you see is depressing. There isn't any level of encouragement. There's a big struggle just to eat, just to be able to sleep peacefully. So the first time I went to Durban in my late 30s, if not early 40s, I couldn't sleep because a friend of mine, Anand Singh, the movie maker, has a house on the beach. And the sound of waves can be terrorizing if you've lived in a shack. Because when it's very windy, the corrugated iron can fly away. You've got big stones that are keeping these things. So when you think about these moments where you come from, you literally use your past as fuel to try to propel you to the future. My younger self was just too traumatized, I think, by that childhood. My slightly more developed self, as I got into the corporate world, I wish I was a bit more patient. I got to a point where I became impatient. So I would make changes too soon, even when I thought I was doing well, but I felt I needed to make changes too soon. So that would be something that I would look back at and say, maybe you would do that better, but I would never, ever regret the fact that I was always hopeful and optimistic, coming from my father's own mindset and disciplined to understand the sacrifice required to be successful. So those would be the kind of thing I would say, okay, boy, you did well by continuing to believe in the future and say, goodness me, you worked hard for it. Maybe you didn't have as much fun as you could have had, but at least you worked hard. On freedom, how would you define freedom? As an example, freedom has to include the fact that you have a life of some dignity. Freedom has to include the fact that you can walk in the street as a woman and not fear that you could be attacked and raped. Freedom must contain in it a sense that you would be treated fairly if you went and you sought justice because something didn't go right. So our freedom is extremely limited. The poor really have no freedom. I know, as I said, we like to complain where Professor and I sit and go. Last night I went to dinner at Hall in Hyde Park. Beautiful food. And there's my friend Floyd Chibambo having a fabulous meal. This place is expensive. And he didn't have his...
Even for bankers, right?
Even for bankers. Especially for bankers. And he didn't have his red overall. And he was having a fabulous meal. I wish for every South African the opportunity to at least to be able to not be given money to get a meal, but to earn a living, to be able even to go to a Kentucky and buy something that they can enjoy with their family. So I think we are not only unequal as a society, we are unfree as a society. In my case, like every bank CEO, You will have somebody that always is with you. You will have a bulletproof car. What kind of a society is this? You go to Germany, you can find, you could even meet Merkel in the street on her own. That's freedom. That is freedom. We are in prison